In effect, regardless of what the evidence says, this man has been fighting communism. Therefore, we're going to get him.
Well, now, Senator...
I think a lynching bee is a good name for it, Bill.
Senator...
And now today...
You remember the House Un-American Activities Committee chaired by Senator Joe McCarthy during the 1950s, right?
Let me pick up the story with McCarthy.
Moronic historians, media pundits, and educators who don't know any better slander his name.
Till this day, Joseph McCarthy has a bad reputation for spewing and spreading communist propaganda that really hurt the lives of a number of innocent people. But how true is that? Check this out.
In 1951, Joe McCarthy became the chairman.
He has become perhaps the most powerful man in the Senate, the most controversial figure in America.
And this committee's activities may well determine whether this nation will live or die.
He was able to expose the infiltration of real communists into the most powerful government in the world.
You had an entire cadre: J. Robert Oppenheimer, Klaus Fuchs, Alger Hiss, Harry Dexter White, Lachlan Curry. These men were undoubtedly discovered to have been either members of the Communist Party or Soviet sympathizers who, in fact, sent secret information directly to the Soviet Union.
Senator McCarthy had a list of communist infiltrators, which included high-ranking figures in the U.S. Army. Joseph Welch operated as chief counsel for the U.S. Army and represented the institution during the Senate hearings.
Joseph Welch, defense attorney for the Army, a shrewd trial lawyer from Boston.
As it turns out, Welch himself had communist sympathizers working within his very own law firm, including one Fred Fisher.
He has in his law firm a young man named Fisher, who has been for a number of years a member of an organization which was named, years and years ago, as the legal bulwark of the Communist Party.
When McCarthy asked about Fisher during the hearings, Welch, who figured these questions would eventually come, gave an emotional response, which was meant to flip everything onto McCarthy, making McCarthy look like the villain.
It is, I regret to say, equally true that I fear he shall always bear a scar, needlessly inflicted by you. Let us not assassinate this lad further, Senator. You've done enough. Have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency?
Allies of Welch would later admit that his emotional response wasn't genuine, but in fact a performance.
Joe Welch literally has a tear in his eye. This was seen as spontaneous. In fact, Welch had been thinking of this for months. Jim St. Clair, who was second in command to Joe Welch, said, "We walked out the side door. The door closed behind us. He winked at me and said, 'How did I do?' And they said, 'Great, you did great.'"
The whole purpose was to win in the court of public opinion, making not communism look like the threat to America, but McCarthy himself.
There are those who feel that they should censure me, not because I cross-examined Zwicker trying to find out.
In the long run, cowardice Republicans in Congress succumbed to pressure and influence by the federal government and the media to censor and discredit McCarthy.
They base their vote upon political reasons when they say ahead of time. In effect, regardless of what the evidence says, this man has been fighting communism. Therefore, we're going to get him.
Well, now, Senator...
I think a lynching bee is a good name for it, Bill.
Senator...
And now today...
You remember the House Un-American Activities Committee chaired by Senator Joe McCarthy during the 1950s, right?
Let me pick up the story with McCarthy.
Moronic historians, media pundits, and educators who don't know any better slander his name.
We can't let McCarthyism win.
Joe McCarthy was running sham investigations in his committee and pushing completely fake accusations against innocent people and lying about...
What is tragic to me is that we remember the name Joe McCarthy from that era more so than we do actual communist infiltration that happened. An honest appraisal of the facts of the historical record will show that Joe McCarthy was right.
Was Joseph McCarthy really looking out for our best interests? Well, let me read this. It says, Senator Joseph McCarthy heavily promoted the narrative that communists had infiltrated the U.S. government and American society. Beginning in 1950, he made a series of widely publicized, though largely unsubstantiated, claims that hundreds of known communists were operating within the State Department, the U.S. Army, and other federal agencies. His aggressive campaign leveraged post-war anxieties and the emerging Cold War to push his warnings. However, the historical consensus is that these assertions were largely political fear-mongering. His hearings and investigations, which coined the term McCarthyism, ruined the reputations of many innocent individuals. Many innocent individuals. So the question is, were these individuals who they marked as innocent, were they really innocent? Or could it be that the Communist Party did such a great job at hiding their deceitfulness and making these people who they put out in front look innocent?